Hi everyone, I am here with you today because as a world, we're going through some things, and we have been for quite a while. Today, however, a lot of us are sitting asking ourselves, how is it appropriate for us to respond as spiritual people, as love warriors, as light workers in this now moment? And this is the moment we have right now to set the tone for the energy that we want to create as we move forward. And there are so many emotions coming up for everyone. Of course, as humans, we have feelings about everything that happens to us. And it is really important for us to honor and to process those feelings on all ends of the spectrum. And there is no right or wrong with feelings. Feelings are not facts, they're just feelings, and they're important to our process. So, what is really important right now is that we seek, regardless of how we're feeling or where we are on the spectrum of emotions, we seek to return to a place of love. We seek to return to that place where we can function from our heart center. We can pull ourselves out of the mind and come back to the heart, because the heart will guide us into what comes next. What is the next thought? What is the next action? What is the next emotion? What is the next connection that needs to happen here? A lot of us are in judgment, right? Because that's kind of what events lead us to. Judgment, good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no, left, right, like all of those things based on our own lens, our own framework. And it doesn't make any one of those things true or not true. Everything that we see in the world is through our lens of perception. And so we need to seek, as we move to our heart, it takes us from the place of judgment into a place of discernment. And the one thing that this world needs now, we all know that the world needs love, but the one thing that we really need as a people, no matter where we are on this planet, is the ability to listen to each other, the ability to hear each other without distraction, to see, no matter what the shell looks like of the person who's in front of you, of yourself, that we are all these beautiful points of light that have been created by the same creator. We are part of the same one when we all go back home. It's important for us to seek to get to the point where we can see that in another person, regardless of what's coming out of their mouth, what actions they're taking, how they're living, what their beliefs are. Because when we can get to that point and listen to someone with the respect that they deserve as a point of light, and I'm not talking about listening to somebody who's abusing you. What I'm talking about is really seeking to understand this other person and what their framework is and what their lens is and what their fears and their hopes are. Very often where that leads us is to see the common ground between us, but all it takes is the ability to listen to each other. And that is the most amazing miracle. And I've had this experience in my own life. What we learned through that conversation is that you can't cancel another person's life experience because it hasn't been yours. It has been theirs. And so it is worth honoring and listening to based on the fact that it has been their experience. And what we discovered in the end is that there was a disconnect in our conversation. But when we got to the bottom of it, when we were able to like sit there and hash it out, that's when the light clicked for me and I said, oh my gosh, we have different experiences here. And if we can all get to the place where we can hear each other's experiences, we will understand. We will be brought back into the place of compassion and understanding, and we will be able to speak from a different place. It doesn't mean we agree. We may still have completely different perspectives, but we are able to build bridges from that place of saying, this is your concern, this is your experience, this is my concern, this is my experience. How do we create something that takes all of that into account, that feels the best for all parties involved? And that is where we are as a world today. That is where we are as a culture, as a nation, as a family. Within our own family, we see these fences being broken. And are we willing to mend them? We've become a culture of canceling each other when we don't agree. And that's not the way to build a future. We can't just cancel each other because of some abstract ideas. What we can do is seek to agree to disagree, or just sort of say, okay, well, we can't talk about this now. It's too heated, it's too personal, it's too much. And come back at a later point in time. A lot of us have been using the language of becoming a disruptor. That's what we're here for as light workers, as love warriors. Disrupting the patterns of how things have always been, to bring in a new higher ideal, to anchor a new higher energy, right? And so what better disruptor than love? I mean, just think about it. If you were having an argument with someone that you love greatly and they were coming at you, and you were just arguing, and you just took a breath and you came to the place of, I love you so much, and came back there, that's like a pattern disruptor in an instant, right? You're changing the pattern, you're changing the way you're thinking in that moment. And this doesn't mean to ignore. This doesn't mean to pretend that problems don't exist. It doesn't mean to go back to that place of forgetting or ignoring or just pretending. That's a thing that we've done in the past. What it means is to come back to the heart center and be led from the heart instead of from the lower chakras, which is where today, out of necessity, a lot of us have been brought down into our lower chakras, into judgment, into fear, into survival. How can we today seek to come back to our heart so that we can be led? And that's a question we need to ask ourselves every moment of every day moving forward. We have each other, we have our divine team, we have all of the beings on the other side in the other realms to assist us in that process. We also need to seek to seriously cultivate our mind, to learn to control our thoughts so that anything and everything from outside doesn't affect us. I see people all the time who read one thing and then their perspective becomes totally that thing. And then 10 minutes later, they read another thing and their perspective becomes totally that thing. They've not cultivated the mind, controlled the thoughts enough to bring everything from the mind into the heart monitor, into the heart center, and feel what actually feels true to them. And it becomes this place of hooking into the lower chakras, functioning from fear, functioning from what others are telling you to think. We have a society that's largely social media based. That's where we are right now. And there is no regulation on what is shared in social media. Is it true? Is it not true? I've worked intensely in Photoshop, so I know something fake when I see it. And there's so much bad Photoshop out there that to the untrained eye, it doesn't look like bad Photoshop. It looks like real photography. It's important for us to understand that what is being given to us and what is being brought into our consciousness has to be regulated by us, has to be regulated by our heart monitor, as opposed to anything else. And how we get there is learning to control our thoughts, learning to slow down the thoughts when we have them, to see each one. And how do we do that? We do that through meditation. We do that through prayer time. We do that through focusing on one thing at a time, monotasking. We seek to come back into that place where we are in control of what we think and what we take in. And so the point of us being here together today is to realize, as spiritual people, as the love warriors of the world, where do we go next? And it's less important about what your perspective is on the events of the world. It's more important to come to the heart center and take your next actions being led by your inner self, your higher self, your heart monitor, as opposed to being led and having your thoughts cultivated by anything outside of you. It's really important for us to seek to come to that place of being able to listen to and hear each other. And that means coming to those conversations at a time when we are not emotionally charged, and to make sure that we come back to those places when is necessary to say, not only to say we need to come back and talk about this, but to actually do it instead of avoidance tactics that we've been really good at. So this is where we're being called in our spiritual journey to show up in the world today. And that means being people of action. That means taking steps forward, but it means taking those steps and taking those actions from a place of what is true for us in the heart. And to have some difficult conversations, and also to listen in a way that might be very difficult for you at the beginning. So I hope that this video finds you well, if not a little emotionally confused. Please feel free to share your comments. Let us support each other. It's been a trying time. I just wanted to show up and be present with you and acknowledge that, and to talk about how can we move forward from here. I'm sending each of you so much love. I'm so grateful for you, so grateful that you're in this community, and please let me know how I can support you as we move forward through this pivotal time and this really important year. So much love.